Recording in progress. Indeed it is. So, Looney's joined us again these cold, dark, 0 dark 30 mornings. He loves to come in and meditate with us. He's a very good kitty. He's being donut cat right now, meaning round. Anyway, yesterday I made the bold claim that God loves us more than we love him. Now, it's challenging to use language around that, isn't it? We are so tied to the dictionary and the words that we use and the various languages that we have available and the idiom and the syntax of our languages. And Alan Watts, a great philosopher, once said that we basically are in the prison of the dictionary to some degree, but God loves us more than we love him. Well, buddy. Well, Buster. Well, Greg. What do you mean by that? Well, what do I mean by that? I think that I mean that it's awfully easy to be distracted by the distractions of life, the trinkets, the little things that we chase around in our life that seem to be at the time the very most important thing in the world. And I think in all the world scriptures, if you take good golly, have humans invented a lot of ways of engaging God, love, source, and, everything from soup to nuts, everything that is nuts to some degree, but some wonderful stuff too. But if you take all of it and you distill it down, you put it in a pressure cooker or a NutriBullet and you extract it all down, the three words, God is love. It says that somewhere in the Bible. It says it somewhere in absolutely every religion. That's a religion that is true, but God is love. And so you had me at God is love. And that is the ultimate distillation of all truth. And it's so overarching and underlying and fundamental that it's thunderous in its impact and yet perfectly easy to forget, at least for this human, because God doesn't send us love. God doesn't, yeah, that's the best way I can say it. God doesn't send love. God is love. And so here we are potentially able to receive an infinite amount of love, and yet we're humans and we're like little kids in a play. And at one point of our life, it's our bike, and then it's our boyfriend or our girlfriend, and then our relationship, and then our career, and then our kids, and then our distractions, and then our sports, and then our music, and then our piano, and then our cat, and then our house, and then it becomes your 401k, and it's all these things that we might put before God. And we are counseled in no uncertain terms. If God is ever a disciplinarian, it's simply the consequence that comes from putting something in front of God is love. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and please do, but we humans are so wont to put here's one way of saying it, to put effect before cause. To put effect before cause. God has literally an infinite number of such glorious effects that come from his one cause, and they are so overwhelmingly wonderful that we humans, in our childish nature, it's very easy for us to become seduced or enthralled by one of the effects rather than cause itself. So that's why this week I'm reminding myself that God loves me more than I love him, because there have been several times in my life where I've not loved God at all. I've been so distracted by one of God's interesting effects. And boy, God has made some interesting intoxicants, temptations, distractions. And I think in the play of life, I think it's one of the great things that we do. We participate in these wonderful plays that God gives us to engage in. And they are multitudinous, and they are varied, and they are sticky and wonderful and glorious. And we're allowed to play in these various realms as long as we remember that God comes first, and that if we violate that principle and we put something before God, then that's fine. It's just then we make that thing into God, our 401k, our money, our stock, our position, our reputation, and then God goes away. And here's how one great spiritual philosopher said it. He said, God won't play second fiddle. God does not play second fiddle in the orchestra. This is not to mean God is a tyrant and demands our love. It simply means that God is love. And if we put anything before that love, that experience, then the experience of love wanes. So this week, I'm just reminding myself and anyone else that's interested that it's quite possible on occasion to completely forget God and to put something else in the way, and how human it is to do that. And that's okay, because there'll always be a reminder, there'll always be a consequence, a repercussion of doing that. And that's because love is always reminding us, is always there, and God is the most loving parent. And as soon as we remember to put that love first and foremost, then God comes rushing back in with vindication, a vengeance, if you will, and reminds us of love so overpoweringly glorious and wonderful. And then when we put life back in the right order, the right hierarchy, we get to enjoy the great gifts in this wonderful play of life that we live, or suffer accordingly by choosing the wrong things. Anyway, Looney liked the message today, and I know it's a provocative week, and we'll talk about it on Friday, but I'd love to know what you think. Have a great day.